Purpose-built, high-performance, thoroughbred craft. They have superb seakeeping and manoeuvring capabilities, as well as adequate and sufficient crew safety protection. They're deployed every day, by rotation, year-round. Whilst these vessels still perform exceptionally well, the procurement exercise for replacement vessels will commence in the near future. You can be rest assured that the force will procure the right replacement vessels to ensure a continued, effective and viable capability against criminal speedboats in Hong Kong SAR waters. Next week, we'll be taking a closer look at small boat division's enforcement operations. Until then, stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
I like golf. I like my squash.
My game's football.
I like a game of tennis.
But I love
the Sport of Kings.
Sport of Kings.
Follow the Trackside team for the best racing form guide.
This program only reflects the personal views of the program host and or the individual contributors.
Good evening, this is Newsline. I'm Michael Chugani. Something very different tonight. Are we too uptight? Are we too political? Do we have enough comedy in Hong Kong? My two guests are not politicians, but comedians. Thank you both, Jami Gong and Matina Leung. Thank you both for being on this show. As I said, we usually do political issues on this show, but we're going to take a break today and we're going to do something lighter. We're going to do comedy in Hong Kong, or maybe political comedy in Hong Kong. Now, Jami, you have a group in Hong Kong. It's called Take Out Comedy, right? And you have like stand-up comics doing comedy shows, right?
Yes, yes.
And Matina Leung, you also perform for this group, right? Take Out Comedy. So, like in my intro, Jami, I'll go to you first. People say that Hong Kong people really are too stressed out. They don't know how to laugh. They don't know how to relax. Do they know how to laugh?
I think they know how to laugh, but more inside than outside. Like, I'm from New York City, and more Westerners or expats know how to laugh out loud. And we all know laughter is the best medicine. But over here, everywhere around the world, people know how to laugh. But over here in Hong Kong, I think people know how to laugh more inside than outside, which we are trying to change.
Why is that?
I think growing up here in Hong Kong, people are too robotic, and they're not too they're embarrassed to laugh out loud among strangers.
It's a cultural thing?
I think it's a big cultural thing. They're born and raised to follow rules. I mean, their parents want them to like obey rules, not get into trouble. They don't want them to fail.
But is that necessarily a Hong Kong thing? If you say it's a cultural thing, then that should happen in China too, and in other, or in Taiwan. These are Chinese societies also.
But I think more in Hong Kong, anywhere. I mean, my mom grew up here, so I've been back and forth a lot. But again, I'm from New York City. I'm from the States here. But coming back and forth over here is more following the rules than anywhere else, I believe. Because it's just the local mentality. It's a culture thing. They're laughing everywhere around the world. People love to laugh. But I think here in Hong Kong, people are laughing more inside, and they laugh among their friends. But what we want to change...
They don't laugh in public.
They don't laugh in public, and that's what we're trying to change.
You're trying to change that. Okay, and you're obviously, Matina, also trying to change that. Matina Leung. Now, what makes Hong Kong people laugh? Jami says they laugh inside.
Right.
But I mean, do they laugh at what makes them laugh? What gets them going?
I guess if they see somebody fail on stage, they will laugh. They like to laugh at people's failure. They like
When you go on stage and you're trying to make them laugh, and if they don't laugh, they laugh at you for not making them laugh?
Well, in a way, like if we say, "Oh, I forgot my script," and then they will laugh at you being, not successful, or if you make fun of yourself, they will laugh at you being, "Oh, you're such an idiot," and they will laugh at stuff like that. They don't like to.
Do you find it hard? When you face audiences in Hong Kong, do you find it hard to make them open up and make them laugh?
It's extremely difficult. It's very difficult because a lot of audience who come in, who are local Hong Kong people, they pay the tickets to come in to watch a show. They have the mentality that we're here to cross our arms and sit back and just enjoy a show. We're not here to participate. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help you by laughing out loud.
So there's no audience participation at all?
Very little, very little. Well, we're getting more and more now, but I guess audience have to be educated. They come in and usually they're shocked to know that, the comedians are talking to me. I have to talk back. I'm not here to talk back. So
here the audiences, they're not used to what we're trying to do.
Right.
They're not used to our audience reaction, our audience participation. They're not used to what the American style, Western style stand-up comedy is, which is amazing. So we don't really blame the local people. It's not their fault because they're not used to this. They're not used to us talking to them.
But we are a modern society, and a very westernized society.
But they're not used to live stand-up comedy. Over here, people know David Letterman. They know stand-up comedy on TV. But you know what? They're used to the slapstick. When you ask people here in Hong Kong,
they love slapstick.
They love the puns and pantomime. Those are the big differences.
Like the Jackie Chan movies.
You ask them, name a local comedian. Oh, Jackie Chan, Stephen Chow. So you don't blame them because, again, Matina's correct. We're educating them. We've been open for almost 3 years. I've gotten 5 phone calls. People call me up. Oh, you have stand-up comedy tonight? Yes. Will there be chairs? I don't want to stand around for 2 hours.
Really?
Yes, and they're not joking. So that's why over here we're taking steps back to move forward. So we don't blame them. That's why we want them to come. And once they come,
you're right in that if you have slapstick like on television, if you have a TV series, there are comedies on television, locally produced comedies, but there are more slapstick.
There.
And for decades, that's how it's never changed. It's never progressed. So when you say you're going to change it, Matina, how are you going to change it?
Just by trying. If we hit walls, we know, okay, this is not working, we'll try another direction. We just keep trying different direction to find a way.
Been trying for 3 years?
Well, I've been trying for a year. This guy has been trying for 3 years.
Matina's great also because, again, we do English and Chinese. Matina does both. And
you do English and Chinese stand-up?
Yes, I do. Yes.
I was going to ask you that. Okay, now let's go with this. If you do both, tell me the difference audience reactions. When you do it in Chinese and when you do it in English, what's the audience reaction? What are the differences?
Chinese people, it's so much more difficult to make the Chinese people laugh. Like Jami said, they like to laugh inside. Even though if they find you funny, they don't laugh out loud. You don't hear the laughter.
How do you laugh inside?
You just see the teeth. They go the whole time, but you don't hear a sound.
Burst out laughing.
Right, they don't. It's so much more difficult. And also, Chinese people don't take sarcasm as well as the non-Chinese people. So you just have to be. You have to do a lot of physical comedy on stage to make them like. You just have to try much more.
So you have to do like the Three Stooges kind of stuff, really slapstick.
The physicalness.
Right.
If you're physical on stage, the locals, you're one up. You gain their interest because they're used to the slapstick and the puns and pantomimes. They're not used to the sarcasm, right?
So if you stand up there on stage like Jerry Seinfeld and say things, they won't laugh.
They won't get it.
Usually won't.
They won't get it
unless you're really good.
They won't get it.
Which is really difficult.
Which is why that's why. Matina, some other of our comedians that does both, they don't necessarily use the same material because you can't. You have to adjust to the audience.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, tell me this. That's an interesting point. You don't use the same material. How do you make the difference between the material you use for a local Chinese audience and the material you use for a foreign audience?
Well, I guess in the English set that I do, I would. My standpoint is that I'm a local person, so I usually make fun of the difference between the foreigners and the local Hong Kong person. But in a Chinese set, I would just make fun of me being a female in my 30s, how miserable my life could be, my past relationship, how cheap my boyfriends were. You know, it depends on the audience and how I want to project my material. So I have to have different, standpoint in different language
That's an
sets.
interesting point you make. Jamie, you know what Matina said just now was when she's in front of a foreign audience and she's doing it in English, she can make fun of the audience and she can make fun of herself, but in front of a Chinese audience, she just makes fun of herself.
Right.
Does that mean when you're facing a Chinese audience, you cannot make fun of the audience?
I think you can make fun of the audience, but you have to be careful and be more careful than a Western audience, because the moment you, in the Chinese audience, you offend them, they will turn against you. But the Western audience, they know that it's a comedy club.
It's just a joke, right?
Exactly, exactly.
They're more forgiving.
Exactly, they're more forgiving, exactly. That's why.
And why is that?
They're not used to it. Again,
Not being used to it is one thing, but getting angry with you for making fun of them? Why?
They're just not used to live stand-up, and for me to go on stage and talking to 50 Chinese people and making fun of somebody and they're embarrassed in front of strangers, you know what, they will be a little bit more offended than a Western club, because again, this is such a new form of art to them that they're just not used to it. So you don't blame them. We have to keep on doing this to have them get used to this. That's why, again, I started doing Chinese in the beginning because we didn't have Chinese comedians. Now that we have more and more like Matina, I let them do it.
How many do you have?
The Chinese will have about 8 in our rotation. English will have about over 30.
And it's females, less females than males,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And why is that, Matina?
Well, I guess for one thing, Chinese people are more like reserved. We have a very reserved culture, and for women, a Chinese woman to be on stage, we are to be veiled. We're supposed to be like looking elegant and like talk less. We're not
Carry
supposed to be
Gucci bags.
Right. So we're not supposed to be throwing ourselves out and making fun of ourselves. Showing the ugly side of ourselves. We're not supposed to do that. So I guess
do you find resistance? I mean, okay, maybe Jamie goes up. Okay, he's a guy, and then he goes up. Even though you have a tough audience, but he's a guy, and the audience accepts it more. But you just said, as a woman, you go up there and you start telling jokes and you start making fun of yourself, and maybe you make fun of the audience. Do they look at you as a woman and say, "What the hell is she doing up there?" Do they do that?
I think they do inside. They are more.
Yet they pay to come and see you.
Well, and other people too. We usually have more than one comedian in each show.
Right.
But I guess they are more observant. Is that the word?
Observing.
Observing, right. When a woman stands on stage, they have to go, okay, I want to see what she has for me. So I'm waiting. More for when a guy comedian comes up, they are already open. They're already ready.
Does that also apply to female audiences? Are they as skeptical as male audiences, or do they show you support since you're of the same sex?
That's a very interesting question. I was often told after the show that, all the female comedians like you. I have friends sitting in the middle, all the female audience like you. I have friends sitting in the audience. They go, this girl sitting next to me, she laughed the hardest when you were on stage. That girl sitting next to me, she laughed the most. When you were on stage. I hear a lot of that. So I'm guessing female comedians. They laugh. Female audience, they laugh
support
when they see what I'm saying applies to them
Maybe they
too.
can identify with you a lot.
Right.
All right, we'll take a break. More Newsline in just a moment. Please don't go away.
Each family has a story to tell, of laughter, of love and tears. Korean Hour, Heaven and Earth. Saturday afternoon at 5:30, repeats Sunday at 12 noon on ATV World.
Many broadcasting channels are now available in Hong Kong. If you find a program or an advertisement is in breach of the codes of practice, you may write to the Broadcasting Authority. State the time, date, the channel, the substance of complaint, together with your name, contact number, and send it by mail, fax, or email. The detailed information you give will facilitate investigation. Complaint forms are also available at the Broadcasting Authority homepage.
快線，純正果汁，香濃牛奶，15種營養素一步到位，早餐飲一支，精神一上晝。哇哈哈營養快線。
Thanks for staying with us. This is Newsline, and we're taking a break. As we said, we're doing comedy rather than politics. Now, Jami Gong and Matina Leung. Now, Jami, before the break, I was asking Matina whether, Hong Kong audiences are tough, local audiences are tough, and I was asking, because you're a woman, whether you have even a tougher time, and you say, yeah. But I want to know whether at least the women support you, and you say, well, you do. But you obviously, as a guy, you go out there and you see Matina perform, and you can see the audience from a different angle. What do you see?
The women love Matina because finally they can relate to what she's talking about. She talks about wearing a bikini on the beach, like buying bras or having problems in Hong Kong. As a male comedian, we cannot do that. We cannot say that. That's why we stress to everyone, be yourself. So when she's up there and I watch the audience, the women love her because they can finally laugh with her. She's talking about problems that they have in Hong Kong. That's why we always say Hong Kong, we're hitting an untapped market, we're creating a comedy market, but we're also hitting untapped material that finally we can talk about on stage and people in the audience can relate to, especially the local culture, the local audiences. There's 7 million people in Hong Kong, Chinese. We have so much potential here with the Chinese audiences.
So the women like you because you do jokes. You do jokes about women wearing bikinis and so on, and they like that. And when the women laugh, do the guys then get annoyed or what?
No, I think the guys love to see women being made fun of, so they will laugh too. But if I make fun of guys, I have to be very careful. I don't get them upset. So, yeah. So the guys will laugh when I make fun of when I do female jokes. They will laugh.
Well, what's the audience ratio? I mean, more guys come or more women come, or is it like a right mix?
It's about 50-50.
And what about the age group?
Mostly 20s and the 30s. But again, we also get people older. We get younger. We have a 14-year-old comedian. Who's our target audience? Anybody that wants to laugh. That's why we always say too.
Do younger guys laugh more or older guys laugh more in Hong Kong?
It's a mix. It's a mix. We have the most diverse comedy audience in any comedy club in the whole world. We have also our lineups. We have about 30, almost 40 comedians, English and Chinese. A South African comedian. We have an Italian comedian. We have a French comedian. Of course, Canadian, Australian, Brit, American. It's amazing to see the diversity of our lineup, which reflects Hong Kong. So
when you have English comedy, for example, do you draw more people? Because English language is, not everybody speaks that language. 99% of people here speak Cantonese.
Right.
But when you then do Chinese comedy, do you have larger audience? Or what? You should, because you've got a much bigger population who speak Cantonese.
We do Chinese once a month, though. Most of our shows are English, but also we're located in Soho. So we find out that after almost 2 years of doing Chinese, we should have more Chinese audience. But Soho is not a Chinese area.
No, it's
not.
It's
too expensive for them. That's why actually our Chinese shows, our fee is a little bit lower to entice them to come to Soho. But we still find it difficult because you know what, we're talking to them, they don't come to Soho. To them, it's a foreign area. So that's why our goal is to do more Chinese shows outside of Soho, which we are doing now, because now a lot more people are hiring us.
Do you attract a lot of people when you do Chinese?
Out of Soho, we're doing more shows. Now we have regular shows at Champs. We just did a big show at High Tech for Christmas. So we're slowly trying to do more shows outside of Soho, like Teen Sir Y, Kowloon, of course, Mongol. We try to hit shows. So
Hong Kong should be okay because a lot of young kids go to Hong Kong.
Yeah, so we're trying to do more shows. We're debuting next month at Dada Lounge with English, but we hope to do more shows. Our goal is to always do more shows outside of Soho, but to have shows in Soho to get these guys better, but also to get audiences to test out what we're doing. Because no one has ever done remember, we're the first full-time comedy club in Asia.
Right.
We have English, we have Chinese.
That says a lot in the whole of Asia. The first comic club.
First full-time comedy club in Asia.
And that shows where Asians don't laugh enough.
Well, you know what? Before I came along...
I thought it was only local Chinese in Hong Kong.
Before I came along, there was stand-up all around Asia, but people flew in comedians. What I'm trying to do is get regular people to perform. I teach stand-up, so I'm trying to get regular people to come and perform, and for us, it's great that we are discovering new talents, like Matina, and our biggest star is probably arguably Vivek Mahbubani, a local Indian guy that does English and Chinese stand-up. So, you know, it's great to discover new talent, but also to educate the audience. Again, laughter is the best medicine. We want them, laughing out loud improves blood circulation. A perfect example was in the beginning, we did a show. We had a Chinese couple, and the girl was laughing, ah, ha, 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 ha. Her boyfriend did this to her, shh. And we saw that during the show. So it's just amazing to see.
The boyfriend said to the girlfriend to not laugh.
Exactly. Right. During a comedy show.
That is quite bizarre. No, okay, you know, that's so funny, but that is, I think it tells us a little bit about local audiences, but I want to ask you something else about local audiences. Martina, I'll come to you. Okay. You talked about, you know, cracking jokes about women wearing bikini, stuff like that. You know, Hong Kong is becoming very politicized now. You see a lot of political news about democratic elections, fighting for democracy, and this and that. A lot of comedians crack political jokes. Does that go down well here? Do you do it?
I don't do it. I myself don't do it because I'm not. I feel that I have to know the materials very well before I write jokes about it. But I don't know the politics very well. But there are other fellow comedians who do it, you know, here and there. I found that it doesn't work that well.
It doesn't work that well. Why is that?
I guess a lot of audience don't follow the news like religiously either. A lot of audience. So if you make
do you make fun then? I mean, if you look at Letterman and Jay Leno, they will make fun of the president. They will make fun of political figures. You don't do that in Hong Kong with local political figures?
Well, the other comedians, I myself don't do it, but the other comedians, they try to do it here and there, but just a little bit. You know, if it was a big news about a certain politician, then they would probably say something about it. But if it's like an election here and there, if we say something about it, the audience are like, "What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about." So
but surely, Jami, they can caricature people like Donald Zhang and so on, right? Do they do that?
We during the election, last year, we had a comedian that was making fun of the way one politician was trying to get elected. But again, it's I think like what you mentioned. I mean, David Letterman, The Daily Show is a famous show in the States that makes fun of politics. It's more accepted in the States to make fun of politicians, and over here, it's just a culture thing. People are not used to it.
You can make fun of long hair because he does all these things, throwing bananas in the Legislative Council. Surely that's material for you guys to do things about.
We can do that too, but I guess for us comedians, we also want to develop different areas of material. We also want to write stuff about ourselves, our predicament, rather than, you know, other people's.
What about now there's one thing that's very sensitive, and that is mainland Chinese officials. Would it be acceptable if, I mean, in the US, obviously, you can do it right up to the president and beyond. In Britain, they will do it about the Queen, right? You can make fun of them. It's just comedy. Right. It's not serious, right? But would comedians like yourselves and the people with your take-out comedy do material on, say, Hu Jintao, the president of China? Or would you find that too sensitive?
We can make fun of China here in Hong Kong, but now we have shows in Shenzhen, and those guys have to be careful. So it's kind of interesting. where you're performing makes a difference in your material also. We have to be sensitive to
So do you do it in Hong Kong though? Would you think it's taboo or you think it's okay?
It's definitely okay. It's fair game here in Hong Kong because it's
English audience, English comedy or in Chinese comedy?
Well, English I make fun of everybody. It's a fair
What
game.
about in Chinese comedy?
I think Chinese comedy is also okay to say it. It's just that we comedians don't write as many political jokes. It's not that it's not okay to say. It's just because probably the audience will not get it or they won't find it funny. That's all about.
You're saying Shenzhen.
Right.
In Shenzhen, what are the restrictions there?
Oh, you're in China over there. You gotta be careful over there. You can't make fun of the communist government over there. But anyway, we just started, so we have to be wary of what we say. But again, also, there's so much more material out there that we can say that's more funny than politics. So we have to hit those first. And then get people used to what we're doing, then maybe hit the politics.
I've got a few minutes left. Okay, you talk about material. Jam, we've got a few minutes left. What material do you use? Tell me what makes audiences here laugh the most.
Here for
what would
me,
you say? Say something that will make an audience laugh.
For me, like I could tell, again, we talked about Chinese people not laughing at sarcasm. I could say in Hong Kong, there are over 800 7-Elevens, right? Did you see in Central, there's a 7-Eleven inside of a 7-Eleven.
All right.
I've said that to a Chinese audience, verbatim. Then I repeat it. 我明白, I don't understand. So they don't get the sarcasm. But when I say something like, you know, in Dubai, there's so many expats losing their jobs and getting the heck out of Dubai, that Dubai is now called Dubai.
And they laugh at
They
that.
laugh because it's a pun.
Right.
So that's a perfect example. So again, you don't blame them because they're not used to, there's a psychology of laughing. They're not used to the sarcasm, so you don't blame them. We just have to keep on doing this so that one day they can get the sarcasm, which is why I see the potential is enormous for what we're doing.
Tell me then, Matina, in Chinese, when you do Chinese comedy, you do English and Chinese.
Right.
Jami just gave an example about people leaving Dubai and then it's called bye-bye rather than Dubai. Now that's funny. I mean, I know I would laugh at that. If there's so many 7-Elevens in Hong Kong, you find there's a 7-Eleven inside a 7-Eleven. I mean, that's funny. What kind of material would you use for Chinese audiences if you're doing it in Chinese?
For the Chinese audience, I would say, okay, I had an ex-boyfriend. He, one time on my birthday, he said, oh, honey, I'm not buying you flowers. Why don't I just take you where the flowers are? You just look at them. And he took me to a funeral home.
and did your audience laugh?
They laugh. They like it. Although they know it's not, it's not going to be realistic. I know you're not telling the truth.
Because I speak Cantonese fluently, so I can see how if you say that in Cantonese, people would, local audiences would laugh.
They will laugh. They will laugh.
That is quite funny if you said it in the Cantonese language. Because there's a lot of Cantonese puns in Hong Kong now as well. Okay, after 30 seconds, Jami, why are you trying so hard? If the audience is so tough, why don't you just give up and leave?
The potential is enormous. No one has ever done what we're doing before. So for me, I'm willing to take that risk. And for me being Chinese too, I'm trying to give the gift of laughter to Hong Kong. That's why we invite everyone to come, not just to see our show, but to also do stand-up comedy.
Okay, well, let's hope everybody here laughs a lot more. Let's hope we all laugh a lot more. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Good evening.
Ever-flowing, ever-nurturing, rivers of life. Come celebrate the ever-changing nature of our relationship with some of the world's most iconic waterways. Rivers and Life, Tuesday night at 8.
All of us can help combat climate change. Reduce carbon emissions. Live green.
It's one big party of great fun and laughter when stars and celebrities get to show their wits and their guts in everyone's favourite game show, where luck and fortune are never far. Join the fun and have a blast on Here Comes the Mammon, Saturday night at 8:30 on Home and HD ATV channels. This is ATV World. Stay tuned now as we hand over to our news department for a look at all the top stories of the day in tonight's main news.
Donald Tsang frustrated by acid attacks, while police say nothing about suspect arrested last night.
Chief Executive complains about delay in getting lawmakers' funding approval for rail link to Guangzhou.
Heavy snowfall kills one, forces thousands to flee their homes in Xinjiang. Good evening. Police have been holding a man all day after arresting him at the scene of last night's acid attack in Yamate, but they're refusing to say whether he's the culprit or a suspect in similar attacks over the past year.
Chief Executive Donald Tsang has condemned the attack, which left 30 people injured, saying it's infuriating and sad that such crimes are still going on. ATV's Ann Choi reports.
It was chaos late last night as acid rained down on one of Hong Kong's busiest and most popular tourist attractions, the Temple Street Night Market in Yau Ma Tei. 2 bottles of corrosive liquid were hauled down from a building top at the junction of Nanking Street and Temple Street at around 9:30 p.m. Acid splashed on dozens of people who were shopping at dining and outdoor eateries along the streets. 30 people were injured, several of them tourists, and were sent to Kwangwa and Queen Elizabeth hospitals to be treated for chemical burns. This time, police acted fast, sealing all the entrances and exits to buildings in the immediate vicinity, while hundreds of officers carried out a thorough search at